I know you're excited to get to know our next guest, but before we dive into the Coffee Monday podcast, I think it's only fitting we talk about just that, coffee. Dutch Bros coffee, to be specific. As November is upon us, it's only natural to think about what we're grateful for and how we can pay it forward in giving back to our community, and Dutch Bros is no exception to that. With their giving hearts, they're hosting their annual Thanksgiving dinner give back. On Wednesday, November 8th, they're holding a give back day benefiting Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and the Poverello House. $1 from every drink sold will go towards purchasing food and assembling Thanksgiving dinner boxes for families that those organizations serve. Help Dutch Bros reach their goal of assembling 250 boxes this year for Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and the Poverello House by grabbing a Dutch Bros drink on Wednesday, November 8th. This is one of their favorite give backs as it gives their crews an opportunity to put together Thanksgiving dinner boxes for families right here in our community. To learn more about how you can join Dutch in giving back to our community, follow them on Instagram at Dutch Bros Fresno or download their Dutch Bros Coffee app. Coffee Monday is more than a podcast. It's a movement to reshape the way we approach Mondays and the week ahead. It's about embracing the reality that work doesn't have to dominate our lives. It's about finding that sweet spot where passion, purpose, and a cup of motivation connect. Filmed and recorded in California's Central Valley, join me, your host, Ray Pardini Matson, as I invite thriving professionals to share their stories of how they're crafting a life that's both vibrant and balanced. Amber Balakian here with us today. So excited. Hello.
Hi.
Balakian Farms, not to be confused with Balakian.
Oh, I know. I get that a lot.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
So formal title, because I know you won't say it, and I'm proud to say it for you. Owner, manager of Balakian Farms. Is that right?
Yes.
Love it. So cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So
Thanks
excited
for
to have
having
you.
me.
Yeah. So we've had the pleasure of working together over the last few years with our team at RPM and just grown to be friends. So I think it's fun to have you here and be able to share your story because you have a lot to say and I'm really excited about it. So thank you.
I'm excited too.
So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Tell me about your upbringing and family dynamic. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Reedley, and I grew up on our farm, our ranch. So we have 20 acres, and my great-grandfather is the one that started farming, and my grandfather bought the ranch and built a house. So I grew up in that house. And it was like a very unique childhood because, I was like packing fruit, as like a young kid and going to San Francisco every week, which was like an adventure, like as a child,
So what was in San Francisco? Was it like farmers markets?
We would do the farmers markets. Yeah. So I grew up going to the farmers markets, playing outside, playing in the irrigation rows. So it was like very, very fun.
Love it. Country living.
Yeah.
I love it. So fun.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any siblings?
I don't. I'm an only child.
So you entertained yourself.
I had to entertain myself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it was like the perfect, atmosphere for an only child. Mm-hmm.
So you said your grandfather started the business, correct?
My great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you are the fourth generation?
I am.
That's amazing.
I know.
So cool.
It's crazy.
So you grew up on the property, supporting the family, kind of tagging along probably as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And your parents were both very active in the business?
They were. It was, since it's like my mom's side of the family, they all were involved. So like my aunt, my grandma, my grandfather, my mom, and then my dad too would like go to the farmers markets.
Love it.
So, yeah.
And what produce did you start with?
So originally my great grandfather bought a grape vineyard. So it was all grapes. And then my grandfather planted grapes and tree fruit mainly. And then my mother, Ginger in the 90s, like transitioned things to more like row crops. So heirloom tomatoes. She's the one that kind of like pioneered that.
Love that.
Yeah. And summer squash and we have so many different things. Pomegranates, eggplant, cucumbers. So just like a variety of like specialty produce.
I love that. I think it's important to note because from a branding perspective with your products, which we'll touch on, of course, I feel like the heirloom tomatoes are really kind of the leader of the pack, if you will. So it's just cool to share that obviously you grow other things.
Right.
But so your mom kind of pioneered the heirloom tomato thing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that was like at a time when, no one really knew what they were. So it was kind of risky. And that was around the time she transitioned our farm to organic too.
Okay. So tell us about that. What was that like?
So that was, my grandpa was pretty mad about that.
I'm sure at the time it was very progressive.
It
right?
was. This was like in the 90s. So, and the whole process took like 3 years. It was expensive. There was like a lot of risk. People didn't really know what it was, especially in the Central Valley. So it was, it was very progressive. Semi-risky, but it paid off.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you know the logistics of how it was done? I'm so like, right? There's probably like so many things.
Well, you have to like, let the land like transition for 3 years and there's a process and it's, all through the USDA and like their certifying agencies. So it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of like steps that you have to take to get that certification.
I'm sure. I can't even imagine. That's and to kind of know like there's risk associated with this, but we're going to do it. And she had like a big picture goal of wanting to do that, which is amazing.
She had like the foresight, I think.
Yes. So over, the course of at least 3 years, you go organic. Probably, I imagine, put a stronger focus on the heirloom tomato side, right?
Yeah.
So at what point does your family decide that you want to do like products and like jar the product and blend the tomatoes and do all the things?
That was more me.
Oh, really? I love that. So between you and your mom, you're both bringing some innovative things to the business. That's really cool.
Yeah. Because my grandma, she would like can things, like she would do it in the summer, but just so we had it during the winter, she'd can tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, just like, that was like a thing that people used to do, a long time ago. And so I was so used to that. And I just, too, was learning about food waste in graduate school and was very into like sustainability because that was kind of a new concept at the time when I was in school. And so I was looking for ways to really like utilize some of what we were throwing away. So it just like made sense to kind of combine the two and test it out. And that's how the products were kind of born.
So talk about the products. What was the initial product and then kind of where you've taken it since then?
Yeah. So the initial was the blended tomatoes. And that I developed like right when I got back from graduate school, because I was really trying to figure out, like, we had so many we had like 80 varieties of heirloom tomatoes that we were growing at one time. And we were selling so many through retail that we had to like dump so much also because they weren't, meeting like the standards.
Yeah.
So it was like overwhelming, like the amount of produce that we were throwing out. And so I thought like, let me use my grandma's recipe and I'll, create this product. But I didn't like combining all the colors into one was not going to happen.
Yeah, right.
So I thought like, why don't we just like make separate, same recipe, just using like the different colors. And it was something I hadn't seen in the stores either. Cause you see like red and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Pretty much red.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we have so many different colors. And so I tried it and it tasted really good. We got a good response. So that's how I started that.
Love it. So you started with red and,
orange and yellow and green and yellow, and then we tried we have like a rainbow tomato, so we tried that. It looks kind of cool. It's like orange with like confetti, like it looks like little red confetti. And
so for our listeners, where can they buy the products?
So right now we don't have any. I'm like,
right this very minute.
Yes.
But talk about that. Like, what's your why? Like, I think that's very relatable for small business owners, especially those in ag and the farming community. There are many factors that go into play when it comes to supply and what you're able to produce. So I love how candid you've been about that process.
Thank you. Yeah. So, one of the things that we did like the past couple years was use a co-packer, and, I wasn't super happy with like the quality of the product. 'Cause that's like something that's so important to me is like, and like our brand is quality. So I made the decision, even though like we could do more volume that way, I made the decision that I wanted to bring it back in-house, do things like on a smaller scale. But in order to do that, I needed to purchase equipment. And just with all the crazy stuff that's going on with importing, I got the equipment from Italy and it just did not arrive in time. So we weren't able, and because of the seasonality, we have to have it like when the produce is not going to wait. The tomatoes were not going to wait.
Exactly.
So we weren't able to like meet the window of when we could produce it for this year. But we have everything set up. So as soon as the tomato season starts next year, we'll be making the blended tomatoes.
So what is that season for you guys? For tomatoes specifically?
June through August, typically. Tomatoes like heat. So
I was going to say summer. Perfect place.
So it's, they do really well in like the Central Valley because it gets so hot.
Very cool. So, but though, in previous years, when you were producing and using the co-packer and whatnot, where certain retail stores, grocery stores, right? You guys were kind of all over.
Yeah. So locally, we've sold to Enzo. They've always like been super supportive. We love working with them. And it's like, it's done well there. So hopefully this next year we'll do the same thing.
Love it.
And then we sell to Erewhon, which is like Southern California. I love that
so
store.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah. I love Erewhon.
Get your trendy smoothie on your way out.
Yeah. And your jar of
in your jar. Exactly.
Yeah. So
I wonder if that would be good in a smoothie.
I don't think
Probably not.
like,
but you know
Bloody Mary. But I love like, and a lot of our customers, that's how I got like the Bloody Mary recipe, because they'd come tell us like, we're just drinking this out of the jar. And I'm just like, okay.
That was literally my first thought. Yeah. It was like old school days, which is not.
Are you going to say B8? I knew it. I actually
I mean, that's what our parents grew up on. Like, I don't know.
All the chemicals.
I mean, maybe not you guys, because you had the fresh product there. But for those that didn't farm heirloom tomatoes,
that was the closest thing.
But yes.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a new wave of like a virgin Bloody Mary tomato juice or vegetable juice type of thing.
I should like pitch that to Erewhon or something.
You should start now.
That's such a good idea.
You know?
Yeah.
We're just dreaming up all the things.
Team up on this.
So you launched the products, which is amazing. The
Yeah.
blended tomatoes. You have other products. Did you want
Yes.
to talk about those too?
Yes.
'Kay.
So, so that was like the original product. And then last year we tested out with like a small launch, our organic bread and butter pickles, which those did very, very well.
Amazing.
Very well.
Yeah.
We mainly tested it out online, like through our website and then at the farmers markets, but people would buy a jar and then eat them as they were shopping, eat the whole jar, and then come back and buy like 3 more.
That's amazing.
So I was like,
yeah,
clearly.
obviously the product is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
And we make them with Armenian cucumbers, which that's like nobody
Phenomenal.
does that. So
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
And didn't compromise quality, had a
Right.
unique product similar to what you've done before.
Yeah.
Very cool. So are you guys still doing farmers markets as frequently in San Fran as you used to prior?
We're doing
up?
a lot more.
Yeah.
So we used to do some in LA also. We don't currently, but we sell to like different retailers in LA.
So cool.
Yeah, but this year we added quite a few more markets like Walnut Creek,
Amazing.
Stonestown. Yeah, several new ones in the Bay Area.
I feel like that's just it's a lot of logistics, right? A lot
It
of work.
is, but
and
yeah.
you're bringing like a quality product that I think sometimes people that live in the Central Valley take for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we have some of the
Yeah.
best produce right here.
for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're taking it to places like San Francisco and things that is amazing because they don't have access to
Yeah.
those as much as we do.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I bet your response is positive.
It is. And we get asked a lot, like, why don't you sell your produce here? You know, but it is, you know, like it's a little more expensive just because it's organic. And like you said, you know, sometimes I think when you like have so much of something too, because we have so much produce here, it does get, you know, taken for granted a
Yeah.
little bit, or you don't realize like what you have until you don't have it.
Exactly.
Like for me, like living on the East Coast, I totally saw that. I was just like, they do not have
Yeah.
anywhere near what we have here. Like I'm so lucky, you know, I was so lucky living in the Central Valley. So I think that's like the same sentiment in like the Bay Area.
For sure. So yeah, kind of going back to that, you mentioned the East Coast, which made me think of it. So born and raised in Reedley, went to school in Reedley, right?
Yeah, Reedley High
Reedley
Pirates.
High, love it. And then what happened there after high school?
I wanted to leave.
Yeah, like
wanted to
most,
get out
what,
of
17 or 18-year-olds, right? You're
17,
like, I
yeah.
gotta go. Same, I
Yeah.
graduated when I was 17.
Yeah.
So where'd you go?
I went to UC San Diego.
Okay.
I wanted to be a marine biologist.
I love it. So
That
you have
didn't
that
happen.
science kind of mind, though. And you
Yes.
love animals. Is that the thought?
I do. I love the ocean.
The ocean.
Like I've always like been obsessed since I was like a little kid with the ocean.
Love that.
Yeah.
So do you swim in the ocean,
I surf. I love to surf.
Love it.
Yeah. And I have family in San Diego. I grew up going there. I would go to like a summer sports camp. That's where I learned to surf and wakeboard and do all of
Amazing.
those things. So like as much as I can, I try to go down there and surf if I can.
Okay, so
Yeah.
cool. So you went to school at UCSD,
I did.
and at what point did you actually study marine biology?
No. No, you're like, did you? I did take one class at SeaWorld. That was
Amazing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah, they're right
That
there.
was cool. Yeah. And then I was like, maybe I'll try pre-med. Like, I don't even know how it went from that.
Yeah. Well, you have a scientific.
Yeah, I loved like math and
Yeah.
science. And then I was like, no, this is not for me, which
Yeah.
is probably a good thing that I
Yeah.
didn't go into that
Yeah,
field, because you have to like really love that.
for sure. And I imagine, I'm sure there's lots of opportunity, but there's also, very niche things you do in that profession, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Interesting. Okay. So you quickly realized, yeah, that's not the direction I want to
yes.
go. Okay.
And then I switched to economics because at that time UCSD didn't have business as a major, which is, it's like, how could you not have that as a major? But so econ was the closest thing. And so I majored in that, minored in science and technology, and then humanities because I loved acting too. So
Love that.
yeah.
I was an econ major too.
You were?
Yeah. Same reason.
Did you like it?
Well, there was a business school at USC where I went for my undergrad.
Yeah.
And I very well could have transferred into the business school, but I got in as an econ major. I loved economics and math in high school.
Yeah.
Loved my experience. I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And it actually applies to the
So
real world.
much. Yeah.
So I stuck with the econ major. I was, for a short period of time, an art history minor. I love the arts.
That's awesome.
But
yeah.
then I quickly realized if I needed to pursue that minor, I wouldn't graduate on time.
Oh, okay.
And the tuition was insanely expensive.
Oh, I know.
So I'm like, what can I do to switch my minor to graduate on time? So I did sociology, which is so econ and sociology kind of random. But anyways, yes,
you gotta
I feel
do
you
what
on
you
that.
gotta do,
It was
though.
a good basic foundation for business.
Oh, totally agree.
Yeah.
I like tell my students that. I'm like, if you want to understand business, like you need to understand economics, even if you don't think it's fun, you know,
Well,
still
it applies
learn it.
to any industry
Yeah.
or the business world as a whole,
Yeah.
I feel. Yeah. Very cool. So love that we have that in common.
I know. I did not know
pro
that.
econ. I was like one of a handful of women that graduated in my
Yes.
class because they were all men. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of mine were foreign students, like
Same.
not from America.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
I know. So cool. So amazing. So you did major econ, minor in humanities. Very cool. And one other thing.
Science and technology.
Amazing.
I know.
Very cool.
Mix.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like I'm all over the place.
I
though.
love it.
It's like-
I love it. But there are very few people that have that kind of right brain, left brain.
yeah.
And it seems like you have both, which is cool.
Yeah. I feel like I have to have the creative, like that's like
Outlet.
which is why I feel like for my business and stuff, it works really well because then I can be creative. It's not just like, you know,
All
strictly business.
Yeah. Love
I
that.
would not make it.
Well, you get bored.
Yeah. You
know?
get bored and then, yeah.
So you graduated from UCSD?
Yeah, I did.
And stayed in San Diego, or what happened after
no.
undergrad?
So I knew I did not want to be an economist.
Right? Everybody I graduated with, I'm talking every single person, went in to be a financial analyst.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone, except for me.
Yeah.
Literally.
So you're similar to how I was because I was like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And I really I had never taken a business class. And so I really wanted to like actually learn about business, like take a business, even though I grew up, you know, in my family's business. I just wanted to see, is this like something that I want to do? And so I researched like who has the best business school, and it was like Stanford, Harvard, you know, like all the top schools. And I saw that Harvard had a summer school program, so I enrolled and I went, and then
Amazing.
yeah, I ended up applying to the program and stayed there for 2 years.
So cool.
Yeah, it was kind of like a whirlwind.
Was that wild? Like,
It
what
was,
was that
'cause
like? You're a West Coast gal.
It was,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Never left
and
California.
San Diego, like coming from San
Yes.
Diego to there, it was like, it was tough. I mean, my grandma's from Boston, you know.
Yeah.
So I had that connection. But just the weather, like getting used to the weather. But I just loved it. Like I loved Boston. I loved like the diversity there. I mean, there were people from like all over the world in my classes. I just loved that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So cool. And probably made
And the
some really
history.
great connections.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. So cool. So Harvard Business School, like the best of the best. So awesome that you did that. And then you graduate, right?
Yeah.
And did you already have an idea of what you wanted to do with that, or what was your thought then?
I wanted to, like, initially I thought like I'll go into maybe consulting, I'll go work for like a larger, like Fortune 500 company, that type of thing. But then while I was there, a lot of my instructors like really encouraged me, like, your family has this business, you're very much interested in like management. Why don't you, they didn't tell me go back home, but it was like, they really kind of like, you don't know what you have till it's gone. Like I started seeing like, I have something unique, I have something special, and like, I want to go back and see if I could use these skills that I've learned. So I decided to move back home and help my family.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love that. And meanwhile, obviously you're close with your family. You've kept in touch with them,
Yes.
right? Over the course of a couple of years and just being away, right?
Right. Yeah.
So at that point you haven't been home since high school, right?
Yeah. Well, I would visit.
You would like, well, yeah, same. Like,
but not lived. No.
Yeah. Same. So
Yeah, that was.
it had been what, like 7 years at least?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like? And did you move back to Reedley?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. How was that? Like,
It was hard.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest. It was hard because, I was like San Diego, Boston, and then back to Reedley.
With your family, which I'm sure was lovely, and they were so excited to have you back. But did you keep in touch with any friends from like high school? Like, was anybody here?
Some of them, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of my friends that I've had like from high school, we've like stayed, close friends even till now. And then just like my friends from college, even I like San Diego and stuff, I kept in touch. So that did help.
Good.
But it's just, it's hard as it is, like sometimes working with family and then like me being gone and dependent and then coming back with like, I want to make these changes. Like, that's not always received well.
Totally.
So
I feel like too, it's not necessarily a generational thing as far as change goes. I think
agree.
just it's more of a personality trait, right? Like some people are more not adapt to change, or just
less resistant to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think change is never easy, no matter the circumstances.
Yeah.
So
here
I don't
you
like
are, change,
fresh blood coming back in, coming in hot. Like, okay, guys, here's the plan.
Here I am.
Yeah. I'm sure they were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They were open to it, but they were like, with a lot of things, like, this is how we've done it, and why are we going to change it? Like, and I don't know. They've been doing this far longer than I have, even though I would help, here and there. But it's like, I don't really know what I'm talking about,
On paper, you were like, I think we should do X, Y, and Z, but it's probably not necessarily.
But in reality, it's not. Yeah.
So are you working immediately, like directly with your mom, or like who's your like day to day? Your mom?
My mom, my grandma, like they're the ones that, because like after my grandfather passed away, my mom is the one that really, and grandma took over things, and especially with like, the operations side of things.
So you come back and do you remember like, what was the first change you implemented in the company?
Well, I think I was trying to move a lot of stuff to like be digital. Yeah. And that, didn't go over well. And I still am trying like however many years later.
Yeah.
But I think the like actually the blended tomatoes, that was like receipt. Like at first there was, some questioning, but then like my mom got on board. She was the one that really helped me.
Love it.
Yeah. Like there was somebody from Whole Foods that like we would do their farmers markets in the Bay Area. And so they have like a local forager that helps with new products. So he came to our house and like,
amazing.
Yeah, it was just, yeah, so that was the main thing, because I thought, like, we're throwing away all these tomatoes. I want to do something with it. And so they got on board with that.
So smart.
Yeah.
So smart.
And that
And
would kind of, yeah.
having them be jarred has a longer shelf life.
Right.
You know?
And we didn't, up until that point, we didn't have, it was all fresh produce. We didn't have any value added anything. So
Amazing.
that really, I think, opened the door to now, like, these other products and projects.
I know. So
Yeah.
let's talk about some of those. So we've talked about the bread and butter pickles.
Yes.
Hot commodity that will be coming again next year,
Yes.
right? The blended tomatoes, all the different varieties of those. Very cool. Other products on the horizon.
Yes. So I have been wanting to do skincare for years.
Love it.
But it was always, like, very intimidating, because I literally know, I mean, yes, I'm a consumer of skincare.
Yeah, your skin is literally glowing. So
thank
pretty.
you.
Yeah, love it. Give me all the tips.
Yours is, like,
I don't know.
amazing. I'm like, yeah.
Too kind, yeah. Makeup. Yeah, so what type of skincare
I
are we
know.
talking?
Like, tell me.
Yeah, tell me all the things.
So I wanted to make skincare with our produce, but I
Cool.
just, like, I always, like, even my aunt would, you know, she's the one that introduced me to, like, Lush and different brand, kind of like the natural beauty
love it.
brands.
Yeah.
And so have like since been very into that, like a proponent of those types of products. And so I thought, like, that would be perfect. It's something that I love, I'm passionate about. And then we, you know, have this amazing produce, and just to combine the two. But
Yeah.
I couldn't, I feel like things didn't really, like, come together until, like, this past year.
Right.
So,
So
you want
on
me to
the
talk
horizon,
about that?
yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The people want to know.
People want to know. So I went to Armenia a couple years ago, and they have a lot of, like, natural, they use just not only, like, very kind of ancient, like, beauty recipes, and they still kind of use those things today. But they use, like, a lot of natural ingredients. And so there's a skincare brand there called Nerian Cosmetics, and they're, like, all natural, organic. They have a farm in Armenia, and they, like, harvest, make their own extracts. I was like, this is, like, exactly right up
What
my
you're wanting
alley.
to do. Yeah.
I love
Very
that.
cool.
And then, you know, and I'm half Armenian, so that, you know, I just thought, like, let me reach out to them just to kind of see if there's, like, something that, you know, we could collaborate on. And so I reached out, and I happened to speak with the founder.
So cool.
Yeah, and she agreed to kind of come alongside, help me formulate, kind of mentor me. She's been amazing. And she,
So
cool. Yeah.
Love that.
So she just this past year moved to California too. So
That's convenient for you.
Yeah.
You're like, we won't have to go to Armenia.
I know.
you know?
Yeah,
I mean, right?
exactly.
Because, I mean, you met in person in Armenia. Were you able to actually?
No, we didn't. We
just kind
didn't
of
meet in
connected?
person.
Okay.
We would just connect through Zoom.
Yeah.
And then
Beauty of technology.
I know. And this was, like, kind of during COVID and everything. So we were, you know, going back and forth. And then she made samples. She'd send, like, the samples from Armenia to me of
So cool.
products. And
Yeah.
I just loved it. And she loved it too. She was like, I've been using this and I really like it. I really like what you guys are, you know, doing. So I want to help.
So are you able to say what the products are and what
Yeah.
you're using in them? I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So I have so many that I have
Yeah.
like a list of things.
So cool.
But the first product that we're going to test out is a peaches and cream lotion. So I'm going to do a scented and an unscented
Love
just
it.
because I like both. I like unscented. I'm like making these for me. I feel
Right.
like I'm like making
Like, what
the
do I need?
products for
Great.
myself.
Yeah. Love it.
But yeah, it's all natural. So we're actually making everything in house.
So cool.
Like our farm is, she's going to come down, like train us on how to make extracts. So this summer we dried like tons of peach leaves, and
So
we're
cool.
going to make, yeah, it's like, why are we going to buy it, when we can make our
When
own?
you have it and it's
Yeah.
already certified organic. I feel like that
Exactly.
is huge.
Yeah, and the quality, I just, again, going
Quality
back to
control.
quality, I just feel like it's so much better. So, yeah, there's a lot of really good ingredients, all the things that I love, like
it.
niacinamide, peptides, just like all my favorite things in this one
yeah.
lotion.
I love it.
And it's for, all of the products are going to be for face and body.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause I kind of get annoyed when I have to buy like separate products for every little
Fair,
thing.
yeah.
So I'm like, I just want one thing I can use
Yeah.
on both. And
Amazing.
then, and it's for men and women. So it's unisex.
Love it. And I
Yeah.
like the option of scented and unscented.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a personal preference on that, right?
And the scented is just like using essential oils. I don't like, like phthalates, like all the different chemicals. I'm steering like away from that. So yeah,
amazing.
it's very natural.
So this will likely, hopefully launch next year at some point, yes?
this year, actually.
Oh, this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, wow. Like in time
Yes.
for holiday gifting.
I'm
huh?
hoping that's like the goal.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so hopefully, yeah, by December we'll have product up on the website.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
I
So
know,
that
I'm
can
so
all be
excited.
found under the Balakian Farms
Yes.
website and social and all the things.
Yes.
How cool is that?
I know.
So look at you innovating again
I'm
with a new
excited.
product and a new kind of venture. So what was the family's reaction when you're like, guys, I want to get into skincare or the beauty industry as a whole? Your mom's like, seriously, Amber?
I don't think
No.
they listen to
Yeah.
me anymore.
They're like, I can't tell if she's
I
joking
know,
or she's
literally.
serious.
Like until I have the like physical product
Yeah.
and show them,
Yeah.
and even like I brought samples for them because she would send me tons of like little samples and things, and
Yeah.
I remember one time I took them for them to try. And they didn't even, it just like
yeah.
went way over. They're just like, I like it, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what you're doing. And then I
What do
was
I
like,
use
I'm
this for?
making a lotion. They're like, we didn't know that.
So because I'm always intrigued by family business and
Yeah.
the dynamic of a family business.
Yeah.
No two are the same, right? There's
Yeah.
so many different ways. What is the dynamic with you and your family now? Like, are you like running it all, or are they still
No.
involved, or who does what?
Yeah. So I feel like we all kind of have our roles.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I really fallen into like the marketing and then obviously the products.
Yeah. Product development.
Product development.
Love
that's
it. Branding,
me.
marketing.
Branding,
That's
marketing.
totally your lane.
Yeah.
Love
And
it.
I don't think they want to do those, they
Yeah.
don't want to do those things.
Okay.
But I love it.
Yeah,
And then I also started doing some sales, which I'm surprised. I'm not a salesperson. I don't like to sell.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'd rather have somebody else sell my stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not me, but I really like have enjoyed like the fresh produce sales. So I've been like during COVID, I put together like a email like list that I would send out. And so that became pretty popular. Like we would send out what we had every week for our fresh produce. And so now people ask to be put on that list.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been like different, like challenging for me, obviously, cause it's not really like, I guess in my wheelhouse, but, that's kind of my role. My grandma does the sales too. Still,
Love it.
she
So
was
cool.
packing also. She didn't this past year, but she would, go out there and pack. Same with my mom. She does the farmers markets, a lot of the like, operations, keeping like all the certification, all of that
Wow,
up to
that's a
date.
lot.
So she's really like the main manager. So,
Love it.
and
So
my
you
dad
can-
did the markets, farmers
Yeah.
markets. So,
So cool.
Yeah.
Love it. So it's a family affair.
yeah.
And predominantly female, which is cool.
Yeah. Yes.
I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty rare. I mean,
Yeah,
in
especially
our industry.
in your industry, I would
Yeah,
say yes.
it is.
Yeah, how's that been? I mean, I realize that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're very progressive
Yeah.
and you just bring a lot of different perspective to the industry, having
Yeah.
been predominantly a female team.
Right.
And multi-gen and just a very forward-thinking mentality.
Yeah.
You know? So has it been well received? Have you received backlash? Are people like, what are these people doing? Or are they like
Probably
here
like
for it
all
all,
of the
right?
above.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I think no, and we get asked that a lot, because yeah, it is not, I mean, it's rare to see. It's more common now, but I think especially when my mom was, growing up, and like it was very rare. And I think part of the challenge maybe for her was like not being taken seriously, especially like when it came to things like funding or,
Right. Right.
so, and even sales,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, because, I mean, not to generalize, but I mean, back in the day, it was like very much a handshake is a deal.
right.
And it was very relationship based.
Right.
So I could imagine that would be kind of an uphill battle,
For sure.
like
Yeah.
in some respects, not all. It's very
Yeah,
generalized.
yeah.
And I'm sure obviously times have very much changed
Oh,
now.
they
but,
have.
I just think it's really cool that you guys have always kind of continued to be at the forefront of industry trends.
Yeah.
kind of.
And I think just sticking to like, not like changing has like really benefited us, where we didn't like necessarily adapt to the industry, but it's almost like we made the industry, accept and adapt to like who we were. I think that really served us well, especially with so much has changed even in like the past like 3-4 years, like things have drastically changed. So
I bet.
I think the mindset now is like where people are very receptive towards that. And we've been able to really develop like a loyalty. And if we couldn't, something didn't work, then we'd seek out an alternative, whether it was funding or whatever the case was.
Right.
So,
Well, and it seems like you have sustainability at the top of the list for you. And I feel like that's huge.
yeah.
Huge. I mean, obviously the way of the future
Yeah.
and farming and all the things. So, I mean, I know these things about you because we've worked together for a while now, but I would love for you to share the recognition that you and the family have received over the years. So, firstly, I mean, Oprah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Do tell.
Yeah. That, so they like called us just kind of out
They
of the,
meaning Oprah's team, casual.
Yes, Oprah's team. We'll call my grandma.
Oh
my grandma
gosh,
picked
did
up.
she just freak out?
Yeah, no. I mean, she just was like, Oprah call, just so casually. Like, that's how she is.
I love that. Casual. Oprah's on the line. You
Yeah.
wanna chat?
Oprah called and left a message. I'm like, are you sure it was actually Oprah? But yeah, their team called and said, at the time she was doing, because she has a farm in Maui, and she's big on that and
Yes.
organic and sustainability. So, she was doing like a farm issue, and they wanted to put that as like their, they have like a collage of different products that they feature.
So cool.
So they did the blended tomatoes, and that like for us that year, I I sold out pretty quickly. So it was
The power of PR, right? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
And
So I was
obviously
very
Oprah's
grateful
at the
for
top
that.
of the list for endorsed products,
Right.
if you will, you
Yeah.
know, or just in general. I feel like what she says, people really obviously trust.
Yeah.
Did they say like how they heard about you? Like,
No, it was
that's
very
so
like,
cool. I mean, what an honor, right?
I know. And the whole process was very, I mean, it took like almost, I want to say a year, close to a year. And it wasn't guaranteed. It was just like, we're thinking about this. We want you to know, you know, can you have product? We'll call you in 6 months.
Yeah.
So
I know, right? I mean, you've
was like,
seen
okay.
it in your industry
Yeah.
and having more of kind of a marketing communications lens.
Yeah.
And as a publicist, I'm like, I don't think people realize there's no coincidence that published when it did, right? Or the
Right,
fact that you're pitching
exactly.
something 6 to 8 months out for it to finally publish, you know?
Yeah.
Which I'm really excited about our latest project
know,
together,
I am
Amber, on the cover
too.
of CV Lux's
so
Harvest
excited.
issue. Stunning.
Thank
Had
you.
so much fun working with you on that, and
too.
super grateful to CV Lux to publish your story and read more about you and your family and the legacy that you're building. And it was really, I mean, I think a gorgeous shoot, and we had fun doing it
I
too.
had so much fun.
Yeah,
It was like
so-
an adventure.
So between us and Gianna Cardella, our amazing photographer slash
Yes.
podcast producer right here, she and a team of hair and makeup. I mean, we were like fighting the sun going down.
I
but
don't
had
think people
fun.
realize
No.
what goes into.
No, we were like, okay, we'll start at what 5:30, right? Thinking we would be good, which obviously we made it work, Gianna.
And it was on a farm. I mean,
Yes.
it's like, yeah. There's
made
factors.
magic happen. Yes, we were on your farm, on property with the fresh produce. What, 3 different looks, right? 3 different looks. Worked with Revival 23 on your looks. Those turned out beautiful.
I loved them, yeah.
Teresa there did a great job of styling you. So excited for everybody to see
know.
those. And we had fun. I mean, literally clipping linen backdrops in between the trees and making sure that the ladder doesn't fall in a trench. So casual.
And stepping on
And
peaches.
stepping on peaches and all the things.
All the bugs.
Fighting the sun going down.
Yeah.
And full harvest moon that night.
Yeah, which turned out,
Stunning.
that
Stunning.
wasn't planned. And
No.
it was perfect.
And ended up being the money shot.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy how that
super
works.
excited.
Yeah,
I know.
I am
So that
too.
was fun. And Oprah, fantastic. So you've had obviously CV Lux is kind of like a regional statewide publication. So that's super fun to be able to share your story in
So
that
thankful for
capacity. And Oprah's huge national, international exposure. So do you think the Oprah opportunity led you to, let's talk about Reese Witherspoon's
Yeah.
opportunity. Let's
Yeah.
share with listeners about that.
Yeah, that was just such like an amazing opportunity. It was, and it wasn't something I planned. I did it last minute. There was a program called Stacy's Rise Project, which is part of PepsiCo, and it's with Stacy's Pita Chips. And so they really try to highlight like female founders, and they do a competition every year. And so they picked 10, out of, I think when I applied, it was 9,000 people that applied.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I just saw it online. I was like, I'm going to just apply, and I literally did it. I want to say like the day before it was due or something. Like,
Are you normally a procrastinator? No.
sometimes I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like not be,
Aren't
but
we all?
yeah. But then sometimes I'm like, no, I need to have stuff planned out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But this spontaneous moment obviously paid off.
It did.
Yeah.
Because they said, you're one of the finalists. I was selected as one of the top 10, and I was just like shocked.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I didn't even really look into like all that it entailed, but Essentially, it was an accelerator. And so you're mentored by all these people from PepsiCo and, you know, their connections, like people from Walmart, different VCs, just like the best of the best in, you know, the industry, which is like consumer packaged goods industry. And then you're given mentors from PepsiCo, which one of my mentors was from Canada. She like oversaw like the marketing for PepsiCo Canada. Wow. I mean, it was just like, I was so honored to, you know, like get to work with a lot of these people. And then Reese Witherspoon was like the face of the project, the year that I was in it, which
so cool.
Yeah, I was like, so we met with her on Zoom, which was amazing.
Just as amazing as you would
she
think?
Is, yeah. She's like one of those people. I mean, some people are different when you know, but she's like one of those people that's consistent, like how she is in movies, and that's how she is in real life. So I was like, that's so cool to me. I appreciated that.
I briefly met her once. It was very brief.
Okay. Just casually.
Well, I know. I dropped that bomb. No, it's not that glamorous at all. I used to work for Sony Pictures, like Sony Pictures Entertainment, and they had different entities like TV, film, all the things. Under the film umbrella that I worked in was Columbia Pictures, which is one of their film distributors.
Yeah.
And I was on a publicity team for their films. And she was in a movie with Paul Rudd, Jack Nicholson. It was called How Do You Know?
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
you
didn't
remember
see it,
Anyways,
but I've heard of it.
That's how I randomly.
Okay.
She was always, from what other team members told me, she was always lovely to work with.
Yeah.
You know, and she was lovely. Just in meeting her, she felt like she was approachable. You know what I mean?
I felt that. And I felt like she did actually care. You know, it wasn't like they're just like paying her. I felt like she actually cared. And we got to work with Hello Sunshine, which is her production company. And, you know, they were doing different creative things to try to like promote our products, promote our brands. And so it was just a amazing, you know, I think it was like 6 months, and it continued. I mean, I still have kept in contact with a lot of the people from that.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
So that's great. I mean, that's how connections are made, you know?
Yeah.
And sustaining those relationships, I'm sure, can only mutually benefit you and them.
Right.
Like, so the other finalists were in different industries, though. It was kind of all over. They were a group of handpicked female founders, essentially, right?
Yeah. And it was all, for the most part, it was all food based.
Yeah,
and,
makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, we could all, like, we all stay connected because we're all kind of in the same position, you know, trying to grow our businesses. A lot of us are like new to the whole like CPG, that world. And so it was nice to like, because sometimes when you're starting something, like you feel like a little isolated, like I don't know who, you know, I could reach out to. So it was nice to have other people that were in your same position that you could turn to.
Yeah, and similar backgrounds. Were others from California, or were they kind of all over?
There were, I think it was 3 of us that were from California. Nice. The rest were just all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Like Miami area, just all over. Yeah.
Very cool. So,
yeah.
I mean, just internationally recognized, which is amazing. And I think obviously is a huge tribute to you launching the product side of your business.
Yeah.
So props.
Thank you.
So cool. So cool.
Thanks.
So you've been back in Reedley, Central Valley area now for how long? Trying to timestamp it.
I moved back in 2010.
Okay. Yeah. I know. I moved back in 2011. So what is that? 12, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Math. We both graduated
as
econ
majors. This is why we're not economists.
Exactly.
The world is like...
The creative entrepreneurial thing sought us out, and they knew she's not going to make it as financial analyst.
She's going to tank things.
So I mean, you've doing so much more than you're doing so much for your company and your family business, but also so much outside of that. So education is at the forefront of what you're doing.
Yeah.
We can't not touch on that.
Yeah.
Hello.
I know.
Tell us about that aspect of how you split your time.
Yeah. So I never wanted to teach. I do not. I'm more like, people don't believe me, but I'm like, I want to be a behind the scenes type of person. Like, I do not need to be,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe that person.
I know.
You're too good in front of the camera.
I know,
you
but
know what I mean?
Deep down, I'm like,
fair.
I'm good. Just like,
Yeah.
But I started teaching because I was trying to find something that I could do when we weren't farming. And I was like,
so the bulk of your farm time, you said, sorry to interrupt, was
summer.
June to August, essentially, right?
It's actually it's May through August.
May
September.
through August. Okay, so summer.
Summer, yeah. So teaching
makes sense.
Yeah,
that
I
you
was
would
like,
want to
that's
do
the
that.
only thing.
Yeah, smart.
But I didn't. I was like, I don't want to teach elementary, high. That just wasn't my thing. And so I somehow got connected with like Reedley College, and they said, come in for an interview, and I was terrified, because I was just out of grad school at the time. Like, I had never taught, never subbed, nothing. And I ended up getting a class there, and then that just kind of led to
like teaching a class.
Yeah.
So what was the first class you taught?
Business communications.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It was wild. I was
How does that
probably
work?
really bad.
No, I'm sure you're great. So
don't know about that,
you have certain curriculum standards, and then you kind of personalized your
can
lesson
do your
plans
own,
or whatever.
right. And that's what I love about college is there's so much like academic freedom, and so you can really be as creative as you want. And just like my mind, like that's perfect for me. Because like, even though, yes, you have to stick to certain standards, you can just, you can do your own thing as long as you're, meeting those objectives. And so I loved that. Loved working with college students. Like, I honestly, like, I feel like that's my group, is college. And so I taught there part-time for several years, and then I applied for full-time at Fresno City, and I've been there ever since.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I love it.
So cool.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense when you put it that way. Time of year and your creative outlet and academics. Obviously you're very studious and a great student, so I feel like a lot of that could translate to your students. Do you only, like, what sort of classes are you teaching at Fresno City? Is it still business comms? Okay, cool.
Well, it's, so I teach a lot of the entrepreneurship classes, which, like, I think my students appreciate that it's, like, I don't just have the technical, like, I learned this I never took an entrepreneurship class, I learned everything that I learned just by, running my business and my family's business. And so I think that really translates well for the students. And then I teach an intro to business class, which I love too, because a lot of those students are like, I don't know anything about business. I don't know if I like, is like how I was when I graduated. Like,
for sure.
And so it's a fun class because I love business. I love all the, all that it entails. And so to like be able to share that with students is, it doesn't feel like a job for me.
So cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like there must naturally be like an element of mentorship there, right?
Yeah,
like
for
watching
sure.
These students eventually go on to potentially other universities or building their own businesses.
Right.
Like, I would imagine that would be super fulfilling.
Yeah. And so I've had students that went on to Stanford or,
Amazing.
just like, I mean, do these amazing things or start just these like extremely successful businesses, or even just,
Love
you know, yeah. So it's very rewarding. And like I said, it doesn't feel like work, like a job, because it's like something that I really like enjoy doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is your stance on internships? Like, do a lot of your
proponent
students,
of that.
right?
Yeah, for
Same.
sure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, I never interned when I wish I did, because I didn't know I didn't know what I was getting myself into, like after college. And it's like to help me figure out what I wanted to do and just get a taste for like the real world, I think that's like very important.
Same. I feel like I interned all through college.
You did?
I did.
That was smart.
Almost 4 years. And I feel like that's how I learned what I wanted, what I liked and I didn't like. And like I had a vision of that I wanted to do X, and then I did X, and I was like, yeah, no, not for me. You know, so to your point about like you're providing that value to your students on the entrepreneurial side of like, you learn by doing.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And so to be able to give them that real life experience in the classroom, I think is amazing.
Yeah, I totally
So
agree.
great.
I think our college could do more, like do better at promoting internships. I know they're like getting there, you know, but it's something I think that definitely, especially remote internships, that's like a big thing now, because you don't need to live in San Francisco or you know, Los Angeles. Like they're getting interns from all over the place remotely.
No, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The whole remote thing, I mean, it has its pros and cons.
Oh yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, you could work somewhere across the nation, even internationally, you know, from the comfort of your home, which I think is amazing. And I do love that about COVID, that it kind of normalized Zoom.
Yeah.
And like the digital world of working remote and working from home and having flexible schedules and all of that. I totally agree with that. But on the flip side, there is just something, personal opinion, that doesn't replicate like the in-person interaction. Yeah. Like there's benefits to both. I'm not knocking it. We do a lot of like a hybrid model with our team, even, and our clients, and it's way more convenient on Zoom for sure. Instead of driving 20 minutes to their office and meeting for 45 and then driving 30 or whatever, you know. But you know how sometimes things in person come up when maybe they wouldn't on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just, I think, just like the physical, like saying, you know, there's just something like you can't replicate that online. No. And it's also, even though you're seeing people online, it's like can feel a little isolated. Like it's you need to get out. Yeah. So I totally agree. Like certain things, like meetings and stuff, I'm like, do we have to meet in person? You know? Yeah. But like, then there's other things I agree. Like you need to physically be there. Like you should want to physically be there. So I think the balance is like key, like not having it all or,
I agree. Know? So for both of your kind of professional hats that you wear, right? Yeah. Entrepreneur and teaching about entrepreneurship. And just kind of getting your creative outlet filled in both of those respects. What advice do you have for an entrepreneur that's maybe considering starting their own business? Aspiring entrepreneur, I should say.
I would say like probably the biggest thing is get a mentor. I know for me, and I know, I mean, there's obviously like other things like, you know, just like don't listen to the no's, like those types of things. But honestly, for me, it's like the people that came alongside me that helped to get me to where I am today, whether it's like my teaching or with my business. I had to get over like my fear of like asking for help. From different people. And even if I didn't know them, I would like reach out and, you know, like the worst that they're going to say is no, I can't help you, but like you're no worse off. So, I think having a mentor, like that's really going to help you, having several mentors, is probably the best thing that you could do for yourself, because you don't know who that person knows, who they can connect you to. And then you just learn from them, and it's free. Like it's free. So you don't have to like necessarily take a class even
So
to get that.
do you don't have to say names or anything, but like you have mentors in mind. I can tell by just the way you're saying that. People that have guided you along the way. How did you kind of establish them as a mentor? Like, hey, Sam, I really love how you operate your business or how you manage your team. Could you help me? Or like, how did you have like a very vulnerable and honest conversation about asking them to asking them to go study? Can you be my mentor? You know what I'm saying? Like, or what does that look like? Because I have some figures in my life and mine that I would definitely consider them a mentor. Now, I don't even know that they know that.
Right. They're probably,
they probably be like, oh, thanks, Ray. I didn't know I was your mentor. You know what I mean? But in a lot of respects, I look to them for advice.
Yeah. For guidance.
Correct.
Yeah.
So did you have like a conversation? Like
some of them I did.
You did?
Like, some of them, especially my instructors, like from Harvard, I would ask them, like, I'm doing this, like, can you help me in this area? Can you look over this thing for me? And it's not that necessarily you have to have one person that helps you with everything,
Right.
you kind of build like that support system. And so, and then others, like I went through SCORE. I had an amazing mentor who, he started Cascadian Farms, sold it to General Mills.
Wow.
So he had a lot of experience. He was retired, and so he was very, very helpful.
That's
in,
amazing.
Like figuring out the whole CPG industry.
So different people with different strengths, right?
Right, exactly.
So are you somebody's mentor that you know of? I imagine.
Yeah, I have several students that like they'll that have graduated that will come to me and ask me for help, or just even like local business owners that I consider them friends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I'm like, I feel like people once helped me, so I like that's the least that I could do is somebody asks me something, like I always say yes if they need help, because that's how I got my business up and running. So
kind of paying it forward in a sense.
Yeah.
I do feel like sometimes as an entrepreneur though, it's a little lonely.
Oh,
so I think it's great to kind of lean on mentors and other entrepreneurs that maybe you feel comfortable sharing those candid things with, because I mean, we're just doing the best that we can.
Know.
You know what
and
I mean?
It's scary sometimes.
Yeah, but
there's ups and downs.
I mean, that's the whole kind of thrill of it,
I know.
right? Is like without the risk doesn't come the reward.
Exactly.
Like you got to take the risk.
Yeah.
I think sometimes overthinking it, you could just dig yourself a hole if you overthink things, right?
Right.
Like that's at least personal opinion. I feel like
Yeah.
if you overthink things, you're never going to do them. Just do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. As long
Easier
as it
said
doesn't
than
cost
done.
you.
Yeah.
I'm all, wait, now that
Amber's
I
like,
say
as
that,
long as you don't go in debt over
as you're not,
Yeah.
Because I've been there too,
Yeah.
and that is scary. But
it's a fine line.
Yeah,
For sure.
But I think that's where, like, somebody who has like wisdom in rather than you just like reacting and like going for it, somebody else that has more experience or has more like insight into it can tell you like no,
For
or
sure.
so that's why you can't run a business in like isolation. It just doesn't work.
I know. I was just listening to a podcast where the guest was saying, essentially the whole thing, like work smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Like while innovative ideas come and you can make them your own, there's certain ways to operate a business that have been done before that work really well. So like, don't be afraid to emulate some of that in your business.
Right.
And I was like, that's actually a really good point. Cause I feel like everybody's trying to do their own thing and, be different and be unique. And I think in some respects, absolutely. But in others, it's like, clearly it's working. Why change it?
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know.
I totally, and I, the mentor that I have, he's retired and everything, but his way of doing things is, more like traditional and stuff, but in a lot of ways, like I respect that and I'm going to heed his advice because I don't want to reinvent everything. I know what he's done is proven to be effective and successful. So you have to just be smart about, the decisions I think you make when it comes to that.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I just love the value you're bringing to the Valley. I think it's so cool.
Thank you.
And I hope you're enjoying yourself here now, being back for, we've been back for the same 12 years, 13 years. 13.
Do you like
Year
it?
13.
Do you like
I love it.
Okay.
Wouldn't change a thing. Now, hindsight, I never thought that being back in Fresno would be a part of my path.
I know.
But now that I'm here,
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it, and I love it.
Yeah. Same.
You know?
I totally...
Yeah.
I never saw myself coming back.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm still like, do I want it?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I appreciate it. Even I appreciate just the smaller towns so much more. And just the community and just all of it.
For
yeah,
sure.
The longer I'm here, the more I'm like, no, I want to stay here. My roots are here. And yeah.
I know. And I think we get a little bit of both, right? We get the small town feel living in the Central Valley, especially in the Fresno County area. And I'm sure obviously Reedley, but we're a big city.
I know.
And it's yeah. I mean, over 500,000 people, I'd say that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I've said this to somebody before too. We really are fortunate to live in a place where if people do want to start their own business, it's a prime spot too.
It is.
There's not overwhelming costs associated with insane real estate that they can't afford in other larger markets or, super saturation in certain industries. We're in a very prime spot for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special.
I do too. I totally agree.
And ag, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't, you don't need a lot. I mean, you don't have to put up a lot and risk a lot. I mean, obviously a little, but not compared to bigger cities. So it is really the ideal spot.
So cool.
Yeah.
So you have so much going on. I've loved sharing your story with everyone and continuing to hear more about all of the things you have going on.
Thank you.
So follow at Balakian Farms on Instagram and be on the lookout for skincare products launching soon, which is super exciting. Blended tomatoes next year, 2024, and hoping to maybe get some fresh produce and in restaurants, maybe farm to table vibes and incorporate it into local restaurants on their menus, right?
Yeah, that would be, because we do that a lot in the Bay Area. I'd love to work with some local. We have some really good restaurants in Fresno now.
We do. Many.
Definitely want to look into that for next year.
Love that.
Yeah.
Manifest it and it will happen. We're putting it out there for all to hear. Well, thank you, Amber. Thank you for being here and sharing your story.
That was
fun.
And
can't wait to see your CB Lux cover this month too. So check that out.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks. Thanks for listening. Feel free to rate and review this episode here and connect with us on Instagram if you have any thoughts, questions, or any guest suggestions. Thanks.